Hey, welcome to Fathering Our Future. I'm Anthony Vandegrift. I'm not the perfect dad, but every day, just like you, I am trying to be better. If you've listened to this podcast for any amount of time, you know that I hate the pitches where if you'll do steps 1, 2, and 3, you will become an overnight success. Or if you'll do these 5 things, you'll be a millionaire by yesterday. Or if you just focus on these 3, 4, 5, however many things, you will be the ultimate perfect dad. I don't like those pitches. But what I want to do for you today is, to the best of my ability, take the ever-changing complexities of fatherhood and bring it down to 2 things that you need to focus on if you want to be a good dad. I want to break in real quick and let you know how much I appreciate you listening to the podcast. My prayer is that I can be a help and a blessing to you on your fatherhood journey. So if you're not already subscribed to the podcast, go ahead and subscribe. And if at any point you have questions, please feel free to reach out to me via email at fatheringourfuture@gmail.com. And if you want other good content, you can go to the website, check out the blog, and other free resources. Thank you again for listening. Be blessed. Do you remember when you became a dad and all of a sudden those New Balances just hit differently? There's something about fatherhood that impacts your wardrobe, and I'm happy to share that I can help you with that now. Fathering Our Future now has merch. We have sweatshirts and hats and other pieces of clothing that you will enjoy sporting as a father. Just go to fatheringourfuture.com, select merch, or click the link in the description of this episode and get you something that you will enjoy and be proud to wear as a dad. Dad, I want you to know I care about you and I am on your side. So I have a free gift for you. I've put together a 7-day devotional, extracted from my devotional, Following Our Father, to help you realign your identity as a dad, to be the dad that God has called you to be and that your children need you to be. Simply click the link in the description below and get your free 7-day devotional. First, let me contextualize this episode because, again, I don't like do these 3 things and you'll have this all figured out. Fatherhood is hard. It is challenging. You can't just do 2 things and everything falls into place. There are conversations that you have to have. There's a sensitivity that you have to have. There is a wisdom that you have to have. There is an ever-growing knowledge that you have to pursue. You can't just take your own life experience and just keep it at the level that it's at with no further education and have everything that your kids are going to need. There's a lot that falls on your plate as a dad. So what I am not doing today is dismissing all of the intricate parts of fatherhood, all of the minute details that you need to pay attention to, all of the nuances that will be applicable to your home and maybe not applicable to my home. I'm not dismissing, the talk about sex that you need to have with your kids. I'm not pushing that away and saying it's not necessary. But what I want to try and do today is similar, and just please hear me, that I am trying to distance myself as far as I can from Christ when I say this. I am going to attempt to give you 2 things upon which the rules of fatherhood hang. Jesus is asked in the Gospels, Mark chapter 12, Luke chapter 10, and Matthew chapter 20, I think, maybe 22. He's asked, what is the greatest commandment? And he says, you love the Lord your God with all of your heart, soul, might, and strength. You love your neighbor as yourself. He gives 2. He says, upon these 2, everything else hangs. So what I want to do is give you the 2 things that I think act as the foundation for being a quote unquote good dad. Now, let me start here and give you more context because I'm doing this episode and naming it this way, I guess, for the sake of the hook, because I don't think we ought to pursue being good dads. Now, let me clarify what I mean. I'm not trying to say be a dirtbag or be a horrible example to your kids. The idea of a good dad sounds nice and sounds noble. The problem with it is we don't define it. It's a very open-ended, just immediately accepted pursuit of, I want to be a good dad. Oh, that's so great. It's just like a weird, ooey gooey, motivational, completely, void of any substance conference that you go to. Everyone's just like, yes, such positive energy. That's wonderful. That's stupid. You can't just say, I want to be a good dad and leave it at that. What does it mean? If you really want to be a good dad, you'll dig deeper and figure out, what does that look like? What does that mean? And here's the thing about being a good dad. You don't even get to make that decision. If you go around and say, I'm a good dad, and your kids disagree with you, I'm going to probably side with the kids because they get to make that determination. You don't get to say, I was a good dad. If your kids disagree with you, then their disagreement completely overrules your personal proclamation of your fatherhood self. It does away with it. If your kids don't think that you were a good dad, you don't get to claim that you were. That's not how this thing works. So since you can't even measure whether or not you're a good dad, I don't even think that we should think of it in terms of, I want to be a good dad. The first thing that I'm going to give you, I think, answers the challenge of, well, if I don't want to be a good dad, what do I need to be? So the first thing is, you want to be the dad your kids need you to be. This is what you're aiming for. So what does this look like? There's two sides to this coin. The first is the most obvious thing. There are going to be needs that come up for your kids, and this is the giveaway. This is what you become. Your kids don't need you to just focus on being these three things, whatever they may be. One of them is usually pitched as a provider. Now, I'm not saying don't provide for your family. I'm not saying, live under a bridge, but love your kids with all your heart. No. But, so I have a story that I think just captures this so great. I was having a conversation with my uncle, and I've shared this before in the podcast, but he caught me off guard because he brought up the podcast. And he said that I was doing a good thing, that I was doing a good job, and I really appreciated hearing that from him. And then he told me something that I will never forget. He said, I wasn't a good dad, but I was a good provider. And when he went countercultural and took what so many people view as this big identity factor of a father, and he took it away. And he said, this isn't what necessarily makes a dad. I was a great provider, but I was not a good father. When he distinguished them, I thought, that was profound. That was so wise that you came to this understanding. That they're different things. Make all the money you want. Take your kids on every trip you can possibly take them on. That is great, but that is not being a dad. That's not what they need. You want to be the dad your children need you to be. Sometimes they're going to need you to be the shoulder that they cry on. Sometimes they're going to need you to be the dad that sits in the passenger seat of the car and just listens to their life and what they're dealing with. Sometimes they're going to need you to give an answer. Sometimes they're going to need your guidance and your leadership. Sometimes they're just going to need you to be there. They won't even need you to speak. They're just going to need you in the room. Whenever these instances come up, and here's a hint, they come up all the time. Pay attention to your kids. See what they need and be that for them. That's one side of the coin. The second side is when you are what they need, you are not always what they want. So I have young kids, so I'll give a more innocent example here and then maybe talk about a later one. Kids like candy. Kids like sweets. Kids like cookies, ice cream, and treats. And I'm feeling like Dr. Seuss, but I'm such an idiot. Such an idiot. But so I think about my kids. They do love all of those things. But if I just allowed them to indulge with those things all the time, I would have kids that are obese, that are on a path to have ridiculous health challenges in their life. I would be doing them a great disservice by just allowing them the liberty to do what they want to do because they don't know any better. So what I need to be as a dad for my children is the enforcer who says, we need moderation. We don't need dessert every single night. You don't need a snack every 35 minutes. You can eat an apple. You don't need a bag of chips. You can have a banana, and that can be your snack. Sometimes, even though they don't want that, that's what they need from you. Being the dad that your children need you to be sometimes means that you're not the dad that they want you to be. But they don't know any better. And this is where you step in and you say, okay, you might not understand it. I'm going to do my best to explain it to you. But here's why we're going to do this instead. And let me just take a moment here and just say, I'm going to interject this. You do not need to create and enforce rules without reasons. I don't know what just popped in my house, but hopefully it's not breaking down the middle, because that would be terrible. You do not need to make and enforce rules without reasons. You cannot be the dad, I guess you can be, but you're not going to want to be this. You do not want to be the dad who says, you're going to do what I tell you to do because I tell you to do it. I don't need to explain this to you. You're just going to obey. All you're doing is planting little seeds of rebellion because your kid will grow up and they will seize the opportunity and the day where they're an adult and they don't have to listen to you and they can rub it in your face that, hey, I'm doing this thing that you never let me do because you never took the time to explain it to me. And guess what? I'm still alive. I'm not hurt. Dumb rule. Don't enforce stupid rules in your home. Have a reason behind the rule. A reason that you can clarify enough so that you're able to communicate it to your kid. And if you think, well, I don't need to explain myself to them, well, you should. You should. Why not? You are their father. You lead them in this life. You guide them in this life. If they are going to learn anything, they need to be learning it from you. So when you create a rule and you have the reason for it and you explain it to them, you are teaching them how to later on in their own autonomous life create rules that will help them be disciplined as adults. You are helping them understand, when I become a parent, here's how I need to think. Here's how I need to craft rules. You might be doing something for them by explaining your rule that doesn't actually benefit them for a decade or more. But when you explain yourself to your kids, when you just have an open conversation and you say, we're not going to do this, and here are the reasons why. Here's what we're going to choose to do because this is better, and here are the reasons why. You are only benefiting your kid. If you withhold that information, especially because you don't have that information, you need to think again. Hey, if you're a new dad or choosing to embark on a fresh start as a father, I have a gift for you. I wrote a book a while back called Cut the Crap, direct tips for becoming a dad. I don't teach you how to change a diaper. That one's totally on you. But I do talk about 5 elements that you need to focus on as a dad if you want to be the dad your children need you to be. Now, this is completely free. It is yours. There's no strings attached. The only thing that I'd like you to consider is if the book brings value to you as a father, make a contribution by going to fatheringourfuture.com/support. But you don't have to. Again, it is a free gift from me to you. The link is in the description after the end of the episode. Click it, get your copy, and I pray that it helps you. Everyone has an opinion on fatherhood, but there's only one place that we should actually look, and that's to God, our Father. That's why I wrote Following Our Father, a devotional for dads. In this, I cover 30 qualities and attributes of our Father in heaven that help us better understand our identity as dads. Each devotional is followed up with a daily step so that we can take the principles of our Father and immediately apply them to our own lives. This is a tool and a resource in your hands that will bless you. Click the link in the description and get yourself a copy of Following Our Father today. So my interjection is done. Coming back around. When my kids get older, the more I read about social media, the more I see from social media, I have no interest in my kids being on social media. And I know that they're going to have friends that are going to be on it, but I look at it right now. My oldest is about to turn 9 years old. And on social media, you can access pornography. Now you have AI integrated with social media that can act as a pornographic conversationalist that can create images of itself, and you can tell it what to do. You can now craft your own pornography with AI, and it's on social media. And that's today. So in 7 years, in a decade, what's it going to look like? Probably not more conservative. We'll see. If I'm wrong, great. Then maybe we'll revisit this conversation. But it's very unlikely that I'm going to allow my kids to have a social media presence as teenagers. Now, when they are out of the house and they get to do what they want to do, more power to them. I hope what I and their mother have instilled in them are principles that guide them to choose to do what is right, even when they find themselves in a dangerous place. That is the goal, and that's what we're going for. But I'm going to have a conversation with them. Here's why you're not on social media. Here's why we're not going to do this. We'll do other things. Here's why we're not going to do that. I'll have the conversation. My wife will be there with me when we have that conversation. Together, as their parents, we will have that conversation. And they might not like it because they're probably going to have friends who are on social media. But that's going to be a decision that we make because we see what they can't. So sometimes being the dad that your kids need you to be requires you to be the dad that they do not necessarily want. Two sides of that coin. So that's the first thing. The second thing is your goal ought to be that your kids think about you and think about, first and foremost, how abundantly loved by you they are. That's it. When they think about you, they should be inundated with love. So then you have to figure out, how do I live and act in a way? How do I behave in a way with my children so that my love for them is never questionable? So maybe this means you get your temper under control. This probably means that you have some work to do on yourself. So I just want you to go ahead and catch this. I'm giving you 2 things to think about and to focus on, but there are extensions that branch out from these 2 things. This fatherhood is complex. It's not easy as do steps 1 and 2 or A, B, and C. It cannot be condensed down to that. If you try to condense it down, then you completely change it, and it's not fatherhood. Fatherhood is difficult, and there are reasons that it is difficult. You can't reduce it down to nothing. You living in a way that shows your children that you love them abundantly and unconditionally in a way that they cannot even question means you probably have to radically transform your life in some ways that will be uncomfortable. If you have a temper, you need to get help. If you have an addiction, if you have some sort of hang up, you need to get help. If you suffer with stress and anxiety and it causes you to be absent, you need to get help. Whatever you have to do to be the dad that your children look at, and when they think about you, they are inundated by how much you love them, whatever it takes, do it. Because that ought to be a huge part of your goal. Your kids should think about you and just think about love. It's that simple. You want fatherhood to be reduced down to two things. I will give you these two things. You have to be the dad that they need you to be, and you have to live in a way where they cannot question that they are abundantly loved by you. That's what you do. Your kids should never be in a place where they wonder, does dad still love me? If you've gotten to that place, you need to jump through whatever hoops you need to jump through to correct that. They need to see that you have ventured through some dark territory to get back to them. They need to see your efforts to restore that relationship. If you want to be a quote-unquote good dad, you need to strive to be the dad that they need you to be, and you need to make sure that they know that they are abundantly and unconditionally loved by you. Another way that you can think of this, let me phrase it like this. When your kids think about you, they ought to think about love. When your kids look at you, they ought to see Christ. We're going to run with that. When your kids think about you, they ought to think about love. And when your kids look at you, they ought to see Christ. You should be that dad that is faithfully there to provide for your kid and however they need provision, not only financial. We get narrow-minded when we think about being a provider, and we think about this exclusively as a financial provider. I write about this in a little devotional that I made called Following Our Father, and I'd highly recommend that you get it. There's always a link in the comment of the episode. Whatever you need to be that. As the Bible tells us to cast our cares on Him because He cares for us. He is what we need Him to be for us. You are doing that for your kids. And in doing that for your kids, you're emulating Christ. So when they look at you, they ought to see something more than just a man, but they ought to see Christ. And when they think of you, they ought to think of love. So there you go. A very challenging reduction of fatherhood down into two things. Be the dad that they need you to be, and make sure that it's never a question in their mind that they are abundantly loved by you. You focus on those two things. You think in those two terms, and you'll be what you're hoping and striving to be, what you probably call a good dad, what we could also call a God-honoring dad. Do those two things. Think in those two terms, and that will radically influence the way you do everything else as a father. Because being what they need sometimes means you have to change. Being what they need sometimes means you have to learn. Being what they need sometimes means that you have to think about things before it's time for those things to even be implemented. And then for them to never question your love, you're also trying to determine, how do I do this in a way in which I show them I care? How do I do this in a way that shows them that this isn't about me doing what I simply want to do, but this is about me showing them that I love them more than anything. Fatherhood's not easy. But I do believe if we think in these two terms, that we'll do a really good job at this thing. Let's pray. Jesus, we thank you for your goodness. We thank you for your example. You have been so faithful to us, so good to us. You have made yourself available to be what we need. When we are struggling, you're there to be a help. When we are running and we are afraid, you are this rock and this fortress and this shelter for us. You shield us from things, God, that we don't even always know that we need shielded from. You are everything that we need when we need it. And you are faithful in that. And it is without question that you love us. It is so incredible to consider all of the things that you are, and to consider John in his epistle, of all the reasons that he could have given, of all the descriptions that he could have listed. He is moved and writes, God is love. Lord, I pray that we would be to our children what you are to us, that we would be what they need us to be, that we would be that shield at times that they don't even know that they need the shield. And I pray that we would love them in such an incredible way that when they think about us, they might see some of the cool things that we accomplish in this life, but what they will be unable to avoid is how we love them. Lord, I pray that you would help us to be just that for our children, to be the dads that they need, but first and foremost, to be the dad that you have called us to be. In Jesus' name, amen. One more time, I said it a few times in this episode, I'm going to say it one more time. Fatherhood is hard. It is complex. It is unpredictable. And it keeps changing. It is a lifetime calling. And it's a whole lot of fun. But I know sometimes in the midst of the fun, it's easy to get overwhelmed. So I just want you to know that if you find yourself in a place where you feel in over your head with fatherhood and you just can't think straight and you need help and you feel like you need answers, I might not have all the answers for you, but I'm happy to help however I can. You can reach me, fatheringourfuture@gmail.com, and I will do my best to get back to you promptly and help you however I can. But for now, thank you so much for being with me. This is Fathering Our Future. I'm Anthony Vandegrift, and I hope you'll join me next time. Hey, one more time, I want to thank you for listening to Fathering Our Future. If you're not subscribed to the podcast, please do so wherever you listen and consider leaving a nice review because I would appreciate that. But if you're not connected to Fathering Our Future on social media, you can find it on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, and there you're going to get some additional content on a more regular basis that you don't always get here on the podcast. Now, the last thing that I would like to ask of you is that you would consider becoming a financial partner of Fathering Our Future, because dads make a difference, and dads are not disposable. Dads are vital, and they are essential, and they are needed. And the impact that dads make doesn't just reside in the home, but it has a ripple effect that goes to churches and communities and culture. And I'm inviting you to be a part of equipping and empowering and educating dads to be the dad that God has called them to be and that their children need them to be. You can become a financial partner with Fathering Our Future. It can be a one-time contribution, a monthly commitment, but by doing that, you play a direct role in impacting dads. You can check the link in the description below. You can pray about it. You can get on board. And I thank you in advance for becoming a part of Fathering Our Future in a special and a dynamic way. God bless you.